ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmama santo brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful, such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization.
54. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kangsati sama sarveshu bhutesu mad bhaktim labate param.
One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
Number 55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva visate tat anantaram.
One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service, and when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion he can enter into the kingdom of God.
Number 56. Sarva karmani api sada kurvano madhvapashayah mad prasadat avapnoti saswatam padam avyayam.
Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace.
57. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasa matparaha buddhi yogam upashitya machita satatam bhava.
In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me.
58. Machita sarva durgani mat prasadat harishyase atha chetoham ahankaran na shoshyasi vinakshasi.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
Number 59. Yad ahankaram ashritya na yosyase iti manyase mityase vivasayaste prakutis tvam niyokshati.
If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare.
Save number 60. Sabhava jena konteya nibadha svene karmana kartum nechasi yanmohat karishyasi aushopi tata.
Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. But compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti.
Number 61. Ishwar sarva bhutana hridadesar juddhistati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantarudhani mayaya.
The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy.
Number 62. Tameva sharanam gacha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param shanti sthanam prapsyasi sasvatam.
O Scion of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode.
Number 63. इति ते ज्ञानम् आख्यातं गुह्यतरं मया विनिविशय तद् अशेषेण यथेच्छसि तथा कुरु.
Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do.
64. सर्वगुह्यतमं भूयः शृणु मे परमं वचः स्तोषि मे धृतम् इति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितम्.
Because you are my dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit.
Number 65. मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मदयाजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वश्यसि सत्यं ते प्रतिजानि प्रियसि मे.
Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend.
Number 66. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वे पापेभ्यो मोक्ष्यिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
Number 67. Idam te natpaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na chushu save vacham na cha maya bhuyashvati.
This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me.
Number 69. No, number 68. Ye idam paramam guyam mad bhaktesva vidyasati bhaktim mayi param krutva mame vyashyati asamsayah.
For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me.
Number 69. Na cha tasma manushyasu kashin me priyakrutamah bhavita nam chaume tasmat anya priyatara bhuvi.
There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
Number 70. Adhyashyatachya imam dharmyam samvadam avyayo gnana yagnena tenaham istasam iti me matiha.
And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence.
Number 71. Shraddhavan anusyusya dunyad apiyo naraha sopi mukta subal lokan prapnuyat punya karmanam.
And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell.
Number 72. Kachid eta shutam patha teka grena chetasa kachid agnana samoha pranatasta dhananjaya.
O son of Pratha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled?
Number 73. Arjuna vacha nasto moha smriti labdha tad prasadan mayachata sitosmi satgata sandeha karishye vachanam tava.
Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O fallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions.
Number 74. Sanjay uvacha itiham vasudevasya pathasya cha mahatmanah samvadam imam ashrusam adbhutam ram harshanam.
Sanjaya said, Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end.
Number 75. Vyasa prasada shrutvan etat guyam aham param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat shakshat kathyata swayam.
By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
Number 76. Rajan samsrutya samvadam imam adbhutam keshavarjunyo punyam rishayamecha muhurmuhaha.
O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment.
Number 77. Tacha samsrutya rupam adi adbhutam hare Vishamaye me mahan rajan Vishayamesha punah punaha.
O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
Number 78. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara Tatra Sri Vijaya Bhuti Tutva Nitir Matir Mama.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
Om Tatsad iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishastu Brahma Vidyayam Yog Shastra Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Moksha Sanyas Yoga Nam Astada Daso Adhyat translated to the 18th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of conclusion, the perfection of renunciation.
Very well. Thank you so much, Santosh Mataji, so nicely, so eloquently English. And Krishnagi Mataji, as usual, super fast, very, very nice. Your pronunciation was perfect and you were really, really quick with it. So whenever Krishnagi Mataji is reciting Sanskrit, we save at least 5 minutes, I think, on the Sanskrit. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Stop sharing that. I'll share the PowerPoint. Okay, so welcome all. Once again, we are continuing now, actually right towards the end now. We're just last but one verse, 1877. Tomorrow, I forget who is going to be, maybe it's Madhu Kumari, I think, who will finish the 18th chapter. So looking forward to that. So we will now just do the short chapter summary now. Chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So the summary so far is that 18:1 to 12, Krishna summarized the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the Karma section. Then 13 to 18, he summarized the Jnana section, which is chapters 13 to 17, 19 to 40. Krishna spoke about the modes in all the activities. 41 to 48, Krishna spoke about freedom from the reaction by occupational work. 49 to 55, Krishna took us to the steps of reaction-free work, to Jnana Yoga, to Brahman platform, and then to pure devotion service. 56 to 60, we saw how to work in the pure devotion service. 61 to 66, how to become a pure devotee of Krishna. 67 to 71, studying and preaching the Bhagavad Gita. And now the last section, 72 to 78, Arjuna's position and Sanjaya's realizations. So, yeah, right toward the end now. Let's just read today's verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita 1877. Tachasmam tacha samsmitya samsmitya rupam atyadbhutam hare vishmayo me mahan rajan krishyami cha punah punah. O King, as I remember the wonderful form of the Lord, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. So let's just read the translation, and I will ask Bharat Bhai Patel, are you there? Are you able to unmute and read the purport for us?
I can't do it today, sorry.
Okay, no problem, Bharat
Hare
Bhai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's see who I've got here. Okay. Garta Mataji, if you can read, please, Garta Mataji.
O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. It appears that Sanjaya also, by the grace of Vyasa, could see the universal form Krishna exhibited to Arjuna. It is, of course, said that Lord Krishna had never exhibited such a form before. It was exhibited to Arjuna only. Yet some great devotees could also see the universal form of Krishna when it was shown to Arjuna, and Vyasa was one of them. He is one of the great devotees of the Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation of Krishna. Vyasa disclosed this to his disciple Sanjaya, who remembered that wonderful form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna and enjoyed it repeatedly.
Thank you, Garta Mataji. Thank you. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Pakitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So this yesterday, 76, Sanjay was saying that while he's remembering this wonderful dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, he's taking more and more pleasure in it at every moment. And now today, he's talking about how by seeing the wonderful form of Krishna, he's struck with wonder more and more, and he's rejoicing again and again. Muhur muhur or puna puna. So Sanjay is, of course, expressing his delight at having witnessed the whole of Bhagavad Gita. Let's see what the purport says. Very short purport, very straightforward. So here, Krishna is saying it, sorry, Sanjay is saying, sorry, Prabhupada is saying, it appears that Sanjay also, by the grace of Vyasa, could see the universal form Krishna exhibited to Arjuna. So here's a question. The universal form was exhibited there in the middle of the battlefield. So did everyone on the battlefield see the universal form? What do we think?
No, Prabhu.
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, yeah, and the reason is?
They didn't have the enlightened vision. They didn't have the
Yes,
vision.
Divine vision.
exactly. So, Katamata, you're completely right, yes, because Krishna didn't give that vision to everybody. Krishna only gave that vision to Arjuna. And that is explained in the verse 11:8. Na tu mam sakshyase drashtum aneyaiva sachakshusha divyam dadami te chakshuhu pashya me yogam aishvaram. But Krishna says, but you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I'll give you your divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence. So you see, Arjuna didn't have the eyes to see until Krishna gave him the divine eyes. So that's why the others also on the battlefield would not have seen it. Our vision as it is, our mundane vision is limited, isn't it? How far can we see? I don't know. A few hundred yards, perhaps it's a very, very clear day. Then we could probably see, I don't know, half a mile, whatever you can imagine, right? But that's it. And also, we have a limited range of vision, right? When you're looking out, you will have your vision up to sort of here, you know, your peripheral vision ends after this, otherwise you got to move your head. And when you move your head this way, you then can't see what's going on that side. So imagine here, Arjuna is sitting on the Rath, and from that single position, he is able to see 360 degrees, not just 360 degrees, but to the distance to the end of the universe, because he could see the entire universe. So that, of course, is a very, very special vision, right? Not ordinary people would not be able to see that. But this is why nobody on the battlefield was witnessing this. And then I think, yeah, so here, so this form is not seen even by great rishis, great yogis, greatest yogis, Prabhupada says. So people who meditate for thousands of years, they even cannot get to see this form. So this is a very, very special vision that Arjuna had. Having incidentally, what also others say, I've heard some people mention classes, that actually, if you think about it, Arjuna wasn't a mortal person. He was Nitya Siddha. He's come with Krishna to participate in his pastimes. So he wasn't an ordinary person. So if you think like that, then Arjuna's vision was spiritual vision. So if you think from that point of view, then Krishna actually had to lower his vision to the material vision. So it wasn't a promotion, it was a lowered his vision, so he could then see material things this way. So yeah, so both things are explained by acharyas. So in that 11.8, we just look at this purport, part of the purport, where Prabhupada says, the fact is that the devotee is not concerned with seeing the Vishwarup, universal form. But Arjuna wanted to see it to substantiate Krishna's statements so that in the future people could understand that Krishna not only theoretically or philosophically presented himself as the supreme, but actually presented himself as such to Arjuna. Arjuna must confirm this because Arjuna is the beginning of the parampara system. Those who are actually interested in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and who follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, should understand that Krishna not only theoretically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually revealed himself as a Supreme. The Lord gave Arjuna the necessary power to see his universal form because he knew that Arjuna did not particularly want to see it, as we have already explained. So you see, Arjuna was seeing the Lord himself in his two-armed form. And that is the best vision of the Lord. Arjuna was so satisfied with that. So for his own benefit, this wasn't done. This was done for the benefit for the future. In the future, whenever somebody claims himself to be God, Krishna, Prabhupada often says, ask him to, lift the Govardhan hill, or even lift a small object for a few minutes in your little finger, or show us your universal form if you are God. So, and also, of course, to completely and remove any doubts anybody would have about Krishna's being the supreme personality of Godhead. So, and Arjun, so he was not really keen. In the end, as we know, he's asking the Mahabharata. He says to Krishna, "Please, I'm now disturbed with this form. Let me see your 4-arm form, and then let me see your 2-arm form." That's how it works. Prabhupada continues, "It was exhibited to Arjuna only, yet some great devotees could see the universal form of Krishna when it was shown to Arjuna, and Vyas was one of them." So you see, we can see Sanjaya is describing in detail the universal form. So he is seeing it, but he is seeing it as a special vision given to him by his spiritual master, Vyasadeva. So now we can say, okay, nobody on the battlefield was seeing it, but Vyasadeva, from wherever he was seeing it, right? And it's explained and again in the Bhagavad Gita, it's 11th chapter, which is the universal form, 11:20. Dhyava parthiyor, now what's the first meter? Dhyava parthiyor idam anantam hi vyaptam payatena dishasya sarvaha dristvadbhutam rupam ugram tavedam lokatrayam pravyatatani mahatam. So here Krishna is saying, although here in this case, who was speaking? 11th canto. 11th, yeah, Krishna is speaking, of course, 11th chapter. Although you are one, so no, Arjuna is saying, although you are one, you spread yourself throughout the sky and the planets and all spaces in between. O great one, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are preserved. So Arjuna is making this comment about the universal form, and then in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada explains that Dhyava Parthivyo, the space between heaven and earth, and Lokatrayam, the 3 worlds, are significant words in this verse, because it appears that not only did Arjuna see this universal form at the end, but others in other planetary systems saw it also. Arjuna's seeing of the universal form was not a dream. All whom the Lord endowed with divine vision saw that universal form on the battlefield. So you see, Krishna, the demigods, either they already had the power to see the form, or Krishna blessed them also with the power. Arjuna who saw it, and he said later on to people, "I saw this." People would again say, "No, you're his friend, so you're going to say whatever you want to about your friend." But to get other witnesses, and not just ordinary witnesses like Vyasadeva and other demigods, to also see the universal form, that way it is completely undeniable. Prabhupada continues, Vyasadeva is one of the great devotees of the Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation of Krishna. So I found this, I forget where I picked it up from, but it's a very nice explanation about Vyasadeva and his position. So let's just read this. I didn't know this until I was researching this class today. So Srila Vyasadeva is not the same person in each incarnation. Jiva Goswami quotes the Vishnu Purana 3:4-5 in his Tattva Sandarbha 16:2 that a different empowered Jiva soul takes the position of Vyasadeva in each incarnation as a Shakti-Avesh avatar. So there are 6 types of avatars. Can anybody name all 6?
Purusha avatar.
Yeah.
Guna avatar, Lila avatar.
Yes.
Manvantar.
Yes.
Satyavesh.
Satyavesh we know, and one more. You got 5. Somebody mentioned Guna, somebody mentioned
Lila Avatar.
Lila Avtara. Yes, Lila. I think you may have got it then. The Lila, so Purusha Avatar wasn't mentioned.
Somebody mentioned it.
Somebody did. Okay, so Purusha Avatar, Lila Avatar, Guna Avatar, Manvantar was mentioned. Then Yuga wasn't mentioned, was it?
Yes.
Yuga Avatar. Was it? Okay, so Yuga, and then Sakyavas, exactly. So these are 6 types of avatars. So it is explained here that in each yuga, each time with Vyasadeva becomes Vyasadeva, is a different jiva soul, a very, very qualified jiva soul. Just as we know, Lord Brahma is also a position like that. So Lord Brahma is a position that is given to the most qualified living entity at the time, human being. So here, similarly, Vyasadeva is a similar situation. So he becomes a Sakyavas avatar. Then it continues. This takes place just as each Kali Yuga begins, so that he can divide and categorize the Vedic knowledge for the benefit of the masses. Therefore, Vyasadeva is often a position rather than a special name of a person. So Vyasadeva started doing So Vyasadeva started doing this many thousands of years ago. However, in this particular Divya Yuga in which we are in, or a cycle of the 4 ages, Lord Narayan himself appears as Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa to divide the Vedic literature into various branches, which means that in this particular incarnation, he is not simply an empowered living entity. Interesting, isn't it? So in this particular Divya Yuga, he is actually Narayan himself. So he's not a Sakyavash Avatar, every other yuga, Chatur Yugas. This particular Chatur Yuga, he's actually, it is explained here, Jiva Goswami explains, that he is the Lord himself, Bhagwan Vyas. That's why sometimes it's referred as Bhagwan Vyas. So, and his name is Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. Maybe somebody can explain why. Okay, why Krishna?
Because he's incarnation of Krishna.
Because his color is Krishna.
Yes,
It's dark color.
you're absolutely Mataji, you're right. So color is more because he's dark. Vyasadeva was quite dark. If you remember, when it was time for him to procreate in the wives of Vichitravirya, if you remember the Mahabharata, and then he goes to Ambika, and Ambika is just frightened just looking at his features because he was dark, matted hair and everything. And this is how we had this is how Dhritarashtra was born, and he was born blind because Ambika closed her eyes out of fright. So yes, Krishna is because he was dark. And then what about Dvaipayana?
On an island?
Yes, Dvipa, exactly. Dvipa, it means the island, because he appeared on an island. This is a pastime of Parasar Muni and Satyavati. Satyavati was ferrying passengers across the Ganga, or the Yamuna, I forget which one it was. And at that time, Parasar Muni says to her that you need to, I have to, with you, I have to get forget how to say it. Vyasadeva has to appear from your womb. And then at that time she said, but I'm a virgin. And she says, no, obviously it was Vyasadeva is a very, very exalted Muni. So he was able to physically not touch Satyavati, but transfer his beach into her womb. And also he promised that because you are not married yet, your chastity will not be touched, kind of thing. So this is how Vyasadeva was born, and he was born on that island. So Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. So this purport was short, very straightforward. So this is all I had. Also, I need to spare some time today because today is a very special day. Can anybody tell me what it is?
Appearance day of Advaita Acharya.
Gadadhar Pandit.
Yes, appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. Very, very interesting character. So who is Gadadhar? Maybe somebody can just tell me who is Gadadhar Pandit in terms of
Radharani.
yes, okay.
And one of the Panch Tattvas.
He's exactly one of the Panch Tattvas. You can see here, he's the second from the right. So if you look at the Panch Tattvas, as we know, is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and on his right is Nityananda Prabhu, and on his left is Gadadhar Prabhu. And then extreme right is Advaita Acharya, and then on the extreme left is Shivas Prabhu. Shivas. Yeah. So now, each one is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adila 7.6. Anybody know his very famous verse about the Panchtattva?
Panchatattva Kashta.
Yes, Puja Mataji, right? Yes, Puja Mataji. Yes, perfect.
Rupa Swarupa Namami Bhakta Saktitam.
Yes. Panchatattvat Kavam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So the Lord himself is Bhakta Rupa because he incarnated as the devotee or ideal devotee of the Lord to show us how to perform devotional service perfectly. And then Bhakta Rupa refers to who?
Is it Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
No, he's Bhakta Rupa, yes.
He's a
then,
devotee, yeah. That's
exactly. And then Bhakta Swarupa?
Nityananda Prabhu.
Nityananda Prabhu.
Exactly, because this is the first expansion. So it's Nityananda. And Bhaktavataram?
I think that's
Acharya.
Advaita Acharya.
Advaita Acharya, Bhaktavataram. And who is the avatar of?
Mahavishnu and Sadashiva.
Mahavishnu, Sadashiva.
Srivas Thakur, yeah.
Perfect. And then it is Bhakta Akhyam is Srivas Thakur, of course. And why Bhakta Akhyam? What's the meaning of Bhakta Akhyam?
A devotee.
Devotional energy.
Bhakta Akhyam actually means he's a perfect example of a devotee.
Yeah.
Ideal devotee. Right? And then Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. That refers to
Gadadhar Pandit.
Exactly. Shaktikam, Shakti refers to Radharani. So Bhakta Shaktikam. So this particular translation is, let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Sri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy. So this is the identity of Gadadhar Pandit. We can just speak about him a little bit more. So in the Shri Gaura Ganadesha Dipika, this is by Kavi Karnapur, he is explained as whose incarnation, who was he in Krishna Leela? Anybody would know? We just spoke about that.
Radharani.
Yes, Radharani. But there's one other personality also. Radharani and? Yeah, somebody just started to say it.
Lalita.
Lalita Shakti. Yes, Krishna Ki Mataji. Perfect. You can see this beautiful picture here. Gadadhar Pandit. Yes, Lalita Shakti. So Gadadhar Pandit here, and you can see in the shadow behind, you got Radharani and Lalita Shakti. So it's explained here why. So Srimati Radharani, who is a personification of pure love for Lord Krishna and who is the queen of Vrindavan, appeared as Sri Gadadhar Pandit, who was very dear to Lord Chaitanya. And he continues, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami has also confirmed that the goddess of fortune who appears in Vrindavan and was very, very dear to Krishna, Lord Krishna, has now appeared as Sri Gadadhar Pandit, who is filled with love for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lalita Gopi always follows Srimati Radharani, and therefore she's known as Anuradha, Radha's follower. When Srimati Radharani appeared as Gadadhar Pandit, Lalita followed her and entered the body of Gadadhar Pandit. Therefore, Gadadhar Pandit is the incarnation of both Srimati Radharani and Lalita Gopi. This is described in the following statements, and then it continues. There's a statement which are in copy versus space. But yeah, so he is a very, very special personality. Lord Chaitanya came as Radha and Krishna combined together. But Radharani still wanted to be there and witness how Lord Chaitanya behaves and how he performs his pastimes. So she appeared as Gadadhar Pandit separately. So you will see, actually, no, we have, normally, generally speaking, we think about God Nitai, isn't it? God Nitai, God Nitai, God Nitai. But many places in Bengal, they are temples or even deities people have at homes. They are Gaur Gadadhar. The more emphasis on Gadadhar at the time. So in fact, these particular deities they belong to Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So he used to himself worship Gaura Gadadhar. So just a brief history. So Gadadhar was the constant companion of Mahaprabhu for the time of their childhood. So they lived very, very close to each other. Families were very, very close. And so they went to school together. They were very similar age. So they were very, very good friends. And so right from the beginning, he was a constant companion. So his father's name was Sri Madhva Mishra, and his mother's name was Sri Ratnavati Devi. They lived very near the house of Sri Jagannath Mishra in Mayapur. And Ratnavati Devi considered Sachi Devi, who is the mother of Lord Chaitanya, as her own sister, and always used to visit her. So there was a very, very close relationship, and this is why Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were inseparable. And there was one time when sometimes when Mahaprabhu would go into ecstasy, Gadadhar would always be there to make sure that he doesn't fall down or not hurt himself. So at one time, Sachimata also instructed Gadadhar Pandit that please always be with Nimai, make sure that he's always safe. So then when Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he went to Jagannath Puri at the request of his mother, as we know, so it doesn't go too far. And when he went there, Gadadhar Pandit followed him there. And there actually one time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstasy, as we know, he used to go into ecstatic mood, he was, where is Krishna, run around. Sometimes he would jump in the river, in the sea rather, near Jagannath Puri, in the sea, thinking this is the Ganga and looking for Krishna like that. So this one time he was in this ecstasy and he was started to dig the sand, looking for Krishna. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Here, is Krishna here? And doing that, he actually found a very, very, he said to Gadadhar Pandit was there as well at the time. He said, look, I found Krishna. And they then unearthed this beautiful form of, what is the name of that Lord? Anybody?
Gopi.
Huh?
Gopinath.
Yes, but which Gopinath?
Tota Gopinath.
Tota, exactly. Tota Gopinath. Tota in Bengali means garden. And because it was discovered in the garden, Tota Gopinath. So Tota Gopinath appeared, and then Gadadhar Pandit took the responsibility to worship him. So he worshipped him regularly, and he also took Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas meaning that somebody takes a vow that I will not leave this particular dham. Whatever happens, I will never leave this. So that's Kshetra Sannyas. So he took Kshetra Sannyas, and he worshipped the Tota Gopinath deities very nicely. This is a picture of Tota Gopinath. And so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was leaving for Vrindavan, he started to follow him. So just at the border, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped, looked behind, and he says, Gadadhar, what are you doing here? He says, I can't leave behind you. I'm going to follow you. He said, no, but don't you remember you've taken Kshetra Sannyas? You can't leave this place. He says, no, I don't mind. I don't mind breaking my vow. Bhakti Charu Maharaj once was doing the class, and he was saying, Gadadhar Pandit said, to hell with my vow. I don't want to, I can break my vow because I want to be with you. But then Mahaprabhu explained to him, convinced him that you cannot break this vow, and then stay behind and continue to worship. And it is said that, when he was then, as he was getting older, when he got older, it is said that he could not. This Gopinath actually was a standing deity, and he could not reach with a garland to garland Gopinath. So just to please him, Gopinath actually sat down. So it's not very clear in this picture, but this is one of the rare deities of Krishna, when Krishna is sitting down. So here you can see in this picture, the Lord actually is sitting down, just so that Gadadhar Pandit could garland him and serve him properly. So this is a special, amazing favor that the Lord did to his pure devotee. It is said then also that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally wrapped up his pastimes, his earthly pipe of pastimes, he entered into the body of this Tota Gopinath. And I haven't seen it, but people say that if the pujari, if you sometimes get him in the right mood, he could uncover his right knee, and there is a mark there where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently entered his body. And soon after that, of course, Gadadhar Pandit could not live in separation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So soon after Mahaprabhu left, Gadadhar Pandit also left, and he also is said to have entered into this particular deity. So a very, very powerful deity that we were very fortunate to go and see in 2019 when we were on the yatra with our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charaswami Guru Maharaj. So Gadadhar Pandit's samadhi is in Vrindavan. It's called Danta Samadhi. Danta refers to tooth, I suppose. So they must have got a tooth here, and this is where his samadhi is. It's got Danta Samadhi in Vrindavan, which you can visit. So this is all I have. But before we go to any questions and comments, I just want to again remind everybody two things. Srila Prabhupada's festival coming up at the end of the month. Please do register. There's a link on here which I'll post this poster and again on this site or on our web group. So you can please register your interest and take part in this wonderful festival. It's a new festival. We're hoping that it'll become an annual festival. So we will have glorifications of Prabhupada for very, very senior devotees. We will also have dramas and dances and all that. So please do register so you can receive important information about this festival. It's going to be 29th and 30th of May. And because this is the 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, it is very, very important that we all participate in this. And then, of course, I must remind everybody to please do register your interest, your pledge rather, to distribute at least one set of Bhagavatam during this Bhadra campaign. And we're not asking for much more. People can do a lot more. We know that you will do a lot more, but at least one. You can put your name on that list on this website. So I'll stop here and invite any comments, any questions, any corrections, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hema Mataji.
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. I was thinking of, you mentioned Nitya Siddhas, they have Divya Chakshus. So why then the gopis in Vrindavan, when Lord Krishna never left Vrindavan, they were still lamenting for Krishna that they couldn't see him there?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and it's very, very esoteric actually. That Lord Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He doesn't put one foot out of Vrindavan, but he was always there. It is said that when Akrura came to take Krishna Balaram away, just outside Vrindavan, then they went to this river to take a bath, as we know. And at that time, it is said that then he exchanged, and then Dwarka Krishna went along, and Vrindavan Krishna stayed back. So why the gopis cannot see him? So first of all, it's the Yogamaya. So Yogamaya covers their vision to, it is explained by Acharyas, to increase their ecstasy. Vipralamba bhava, as we all know, that when somebody is with us, we of course we love them and we care for them, everything is fine. But in separation, that feeling deepens. So for that reason, it is a pastime whereby the gopis, although the Lord was there, and Bhakti-Charu Maharaj explained one time that sometimes they would see Krishna, but they would just think, oh, I'm just dreaming, or I'm imagining, like that. Right? So this is how they always were in separation. And this is how their love for the Lord, although it was at such a high level already, it's just intensified to an unbelievable level.
Okay, so it's to intensify the Vipralamba.
That's it, yes.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Ramataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class. I was just wondering, why did Bhaktivinoda Thakur worship Gadadhar Pandit instead of Nityananda Prabhu?
Yeah, so I don't think there's any explanation given why, but as I was saying, not just Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but it was it was like a culture in those days, actually, and even today, perhaps maybe some families in the Bengal area, where they have more, they lean towards worshipping the Lord with Gadadhar rather than Nityananda. And if you think about it, it's like, some people would worship, or if they would worship Krishna Balaram, and others would worship Radha Krishna. Same way. So if you're worshiping Nitai Gaur, then you're worshiping Krishna Balaram. If you're worshiping Gaur Gadadhar, then you're worshiping Radha Krishna. So similar, like just different moods, really.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's very nice.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Anybody want to share any pastimes? There are lots more pastimes, of course, of Gadadhar Pandit, and I've only briefly explained some. Maybe somebody can explain one other pastime of, as we have maybe 5 minutes, somebody can share a pastime of Gadadhar Pandit. If not, any other comments, any realizations?
I know, Prabhuji, that Gadadhar Pandit was really relished the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
And he used to recite this Srimad Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu, isn't it, on an ongoing basis?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely, yes. He was such an amazing reciter that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sit there hours and hours, sometimes all night, just listening to Gadadhar Pandit recite the Bhagavatam. Yeah, thank you for reminding us, Mamataji.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, I know you mentioned a little bit, but just wanted to elaborate a bit because, like Gadadhar Prabhu, like he was worshipping Toto Gopinath. But when he got older, that he could not, do proper shingar and everything. So he was just praying to the Lord. Sorry, I wasn't here, so I don't know if I'm repeating. I'm not sure. Phone call came, so if I'm repeating, then sorry, forgive me. Yeah.
Continue.
So then he was praying at night and he was, what you call, lamenting. I'm sorry, I want to serve you, but I cannot serve you. I'm old, I can't reach you. So the next day when he wakes up, Lord sits down. That's why, he sit down, and this is the only deities which is, sitting with a cross leg. And when he sat down, Krishna, Toto Gopinath, had a crack in one of the knees, where the knee crease is. And last time when we went, the devotee kindly, he, showed us, he, removed the dhoti and he showed the crack that, this is when he sat down, the had a crack. And the other thing is when Lord Chaitanya disappeared from this world, then, they said two or three places, Lord disappeared from, and one of the places, from this Toto Gopinath.
Yes.
From this crack, Lord Chaitanya disappeared from that. And
Very
the
nice.
second one is Lord Jagannath. And third one, devotee said that he disappeared in the sea. So if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, you're right.
Hare Krishna.
Absolutely. No, absolutely right, Krishna Mataji. You're completely right. And yes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance is described in different ways and different places. So they're all right. The Lord doesn't have to be limited to one place. So that's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes. Wonderful. So Gadadhar Pandit Avirbhav Mahotsav ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, devotees. Thank you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Wonderful class.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Wonderful
Krishna.
class.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji, for
Krishna.
wonderful
Hare
class.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
devotee. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Prabhu.
you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Bharat
Krishna.
Bhai.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Umila Ben. I could hear you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Rupa Mataji. Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Surya Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Oh, Kajal is online. Hare Krishna Kajal.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mukesh Bhai.
Long time no see. Long time no see, Kajal.
Hare Krishna, Bhabhi. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Are you okay?
I'm fine, thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Vishali Mataji. Navneet Prabhu. Nice to see you both.
Nice to
Hare
see you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Umila Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Urmila
Hare
Ben.
Krishna. Have Purniman. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Rita Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Wonderful. Okay. Hare Krishna all. We'll see you all next week. Hare Krishna.